It's Tuesday, November 22nd at 6 p.m. We'll start with roll call attendance. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Here.
Councilmember Milam.
Here.
Councilmember Palmer.
Here.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Borton.
Here.
Councilmember Byrd.
Here.
Mayor DeVeerd.
Here. Item number 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you will all rise and join us in the pledge to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 is our community invocation. Tonight will be led by Pastor Mark Bryan with Church of the Harvest, or Harvest Church, Meridian, although I swear I've seen it online as Harvest Church Boise, so I'm glad to see Meridian on there. I invite all of those in attendance to join us in the community invocation or take this as an opportunity for a moment of reflection. Thank you for joining us. I did have to give you a hard time.
It's quite all right. Let us pray. Father in heaven, we thank you for this day, and we thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to gather together in honor of you and to pray for our city, to pray for our mayor and the council and the city leaders and those who serve the citizens of this great city. In this week, Lord, where our nation celebrates a biblical attitude and perspective of Thanksgiving, we pray that we would be thankful. I thank you for our mayor. Thank you for this city. I thank you that I can live and pastor in one of the great cities of America. And I pray, Lord, that you would protect our city. Pray especially tonight for our police officers and the police officers of America that are under such an assault from a spirit of division and arrogant attack of violence against authority. We pray, Lord God, that you would protect America from further bloodshed and violence on our homeland and continue to protect Meridian and continue to protect the officers of the Treasure Valley. We pray now for wisdom as we ask of you wisdom from above as this city council deliberates the issues at hand, and most of all, may we be thankful this week for the many blessings that we enjoy. We ask these things in the mighty and powerful name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Bryan, and I do want to thank you for what you do in our community, the support you've given our police department, remembering the men and women in blue in your invocation, and also very excited to kick off Harvest Transit next month, and just appreciate you and your team for stepping forward and being a part of this monumentous occasion and providing mobility to our seniors and disabled, those that have had a real struggle being mobile. So thank you so much. Item number 4 is adoption of the agenda.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Byrd.
On item 5B will be moved to 6B, and item 8A is the resolution number is 16-1180. Item 9A has been asked to be continued to December 5th, 2016. And 10A is ordinance number 16-1714. And 10B, the ordinance number is 16-1715. And with that, I move we adopt the amended agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 5 is our consent agenda.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Byrd.
As stated earlier, item B will be moved to 6B. And with that, I move we approve the consent agenda as amended and for the mayor to sign, the clerk to attest.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as changed. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Milam.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. There was an item moved from the consent agenda, so item 6 will hear item 5B from the consent agenda.
Madam Mayor, just to clarify, is that 6B? First item, it's the first of the items taken off the consent. Good, I want to make sure I was addressing the right item. This item concerns the Pine Avenue Improvement Project. This project will require a budget amendment next year, so that's the reason we asked for it to be taken off consent agenda. We thought that was bad form for anything that creates a need for a budget amendment to be on the consent agenda. However, the good news is that the budget amendment will be net zero or revenue neutral. It will be no additional cost to the city's budget. Finance likes us to do this, to do budget amendments because it gives us spending authority. So the item on your agenda is essentially an agreement between that it outlines ACHD will charge the city for the Meridian Development Corporation's improvements, which are in addition to what ACHD is doing out there on Pine Avenue. And we'll pay what MDC gives us to ACHD and then be reimbursed by MDC later on. So essentially, ACHD wanted to work with a single entity. So the city is that entity. We have a good working relationship with them. And it simplified things for them, for MDC to be working through us and essentially using us as a pass-through and for project management as well. So that's what this is all about. The agreement structures that relationship. It confirms that MDC will be paying these costs. ACHD still has to determine some of its costs, especially the cost of the right-of-way. We'll know more about that next year. But when this budget amendment for this revenue neutral amendment comes around, you'll know what it is at that time, and we'll remind you of it.
Thank you, Bruce. I do see a representative from MDC here. Dan, did you want to say anything?
No, I think Bruce handled it very well. Thank you, Bruce.
Okay. Well, this is really formalizing our gateway into our downtown on the east side of our urban renewal district, and excited to see this improvement made. Council, any questions for Bruce or for Dan? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I move we approve the memorandum of agreement with MDC for Pine Avenue.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the memorandum between MDC and the City of Meridian. If there's no discussion, Mr. Clerk, will you please call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Abstain.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 7A, we have the honor of having J.C. Jones here to give us an update on the Children's Museum, or Bubbles.
Yes.
Now you'll have to tell us the story behind Bubbles.
We can do that.
All right.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, it's nice to see you all. Thank you for having me back tonight. I have a PowerPoint, and my friend CJ's on it. Although I like that one better. Perfect, thank you. So Bubbles, a children's museum. The mission of Bubbles, a children's museum, is to ignite the creative potential of children and families by providing unique, hands-on experiences, enabling adventure and discovery while honoring local history and agriculture, industry, education, and culture. And the vision of our team is to be the premier destination for family-oriented interactive learning. We originally wrote our vision with Ada County in mind, and we said we want to be the destination for family-oriented interactive learning in Ada County. And then we thought, well, no, Idaho. And then we thought the Pacific Northwest. And then we said, no, we don't want to limit it. We want to be where people want to be. So the story behind Bubbles comes from this awesome start to potentially a logo or a sign that Susan Mahoney, and I'll talk a bit more about her, had drafted probably a year and a half ago. And it's a little girl who is blowing bubbles, and her bubbles are her imagination. And no matter how old you get, any of us who are around children, they light up when they blow bubbles, and it's magical, and it's interactive, and kids at all ages seem to, I don't know, it's a win at every party. You know, you bring out the bubbles, and kids are drawn to the imagination that creates. So that same feeling of just youthful joy is what we're hoping to create in our facility. Maybe, see, you'd think I'd be better at this one.
You'd think you'd be familiar.
Right? Should be all over that. All right, the history of our group. The idea for an interactive children's museum actually began with the Boise Rotary. Susan Mahoney is a Rotary member, and she had an idea to open a facility in Idaho that would be a safe place for children to interact and grow through hands-on learning. The facility should provide opportunities for children to engage with the world in new ways that they haven't previously experienced. The facility should also be a location where adults and children interact together, generating a shared love of lifelong learning. Susan reached out to Mayor Tammy sometime in 2015, we think summer, although my memory could be off on that, and shared her idea. Creating a facility like this would support the City of Meridian's vision to be a premier place to live, work, and raise a family. City staff, I'm going to say insert Hillary's name here because she's amazing, worked with Ms. Mahoney to create an advisory committee of other interested community members, and the group began working to facilitate meetings. The first advisory committee meeting was in October of 2015. And that's just a nice little picture of a children's museum in Indianapolis. So this is going to be a community project. No one agency is responsible. Any community members who are interested in participating in this group are invited and welcome to attend our advisory meetings. A recent survey completed by the Meridian Development Corporation showed that there's a community desire and support for a children's museum facility in the Meridian area. And our experience with the advisory committee further proves these findings. We have members on our advisory committee from the following organizations: City of Meridian, the Meridian Historic Preservation Commission, Meridian Development Corporation, Meridian Downtown Business Association, the Rotary Club, the Optimist Club, Meridian Library District, West Ada School District, Habitat for Humanity, Twiga Foundation, Ada County Assessor, D.L. Evans Bank, Thrivent Financial, All American Insurance, Meridian Historical Society, and then we have independent members with backgrounds in museum management, STEM consulting, local PTAs, and insurance companies. And many hands make for light work. This is truly going to be a community project, and the community is clearly invested and willing to work for it. So our board members were they either nominated from that group or volunteered from our group of advisory members. And we had the first 4 members were selected in July, and the final 2 members added just last month. Board members are Dan Basilone with Meridian Development Corporation and Meridian Downtown Business Association, Susan Mahoney of the Rotary Club, Woody Sobey, who's a STEM consultant and an adjunct professor at Boise State, Ashley Ford Squires, owner of AF Public Solutions, LLC. Stephanie Alterfer Prussia is a local mortgage loan consultant, and then myself, and I serve with the Meridian Historic Preservation Commission. So this group of 6 people will be the will regularly meet to discuss the progress of this and will be the responsible and deciding board for decisions moving forward. Our regular board meetings are the second Monday of each month at 4:30 p.m. The board adopted bylaws and signed articles of incorporation paperwork on October 19th of just this year. The articles of incorporation were received and filed with the Secretary of State on October 28th. Bylaws and all of their documentation have been approved, and we have them available. You can contact any members of the board for copies of those records. You don't even have to touch it now, and it just changes. Somebody doing that? Are you doing that? You're amazing. Like it's magic. So our next steps, now that our articles of incorporation have been filed, we plan to apply for a 501c3 nonprofit status. This process can take 2 to 12 months, and because we don't want to limit our group's ability to fundraise, it will cost $750. We'll be seeking donations from the community to pay for this initial fee, and then we'll begin reaching out to our business and development community for sponsorships. As demonstrated by the Children's Museum in Miami, there will be many opportunities for partnerships and in-kind donations, allowing space for our sponsors to advertise. And you can see that done here with Bank of America. Oh, too far. Go back. Thank you. Let's see. Our goal is to purchase or lease a property in the Meridian core area. We have researched and reviewed performas from other similar organizations. Our target is to open the door within 5 years. It might be an aggressive timeline because most museums launch within 7 to 10 years of incorporating. But we have a unique situation in that we live in Meridian, and Meridian is a community that supports youth and development. Community members that we have reached out to are eager to participate and help wherever they can. We've had offers from families to come in and do build days. We've had offers from moms who've volunteered to get their kids involved, raising money. It's something that I've yet to talk to somebody who doesn't have some connection where they feel passionate about wanting to help. We'd like the museum to be a destination that brings families into Meridian's downtown, helping spur the local economy, support local businesses, and add to Meridian's Main Street environment. Okay, thank you. So our ask today, we don't have one, other than to simply ask for your support. In order to be successful, we'll need the support of our local government and quasi-government organizations. If you're at an event and have an opportunity to put a plug in about what we're doing, we'd appreciate it. Based on our research, we need to raise approximately $1.8 million before we can open the doors. It allows for new construction, gallery, and exhibition space, along with exhibit design, fabrication, installation, and operating costs and utilities. Our goal is to establish partnerships and seek donations from local developers or other interested groups and truly make this a project for and by the community. In the next year, we plan to hold fundraising events and would love for you to attend. We are planning a black tie cocktail event for the grown-ups and a few pop-up exhibits for kids. Josh Everts with The Vault has graciously offered to let our group use his location to hold these events. So the reality is that we have a long road in front of us, and we're all aware of that and honest about it, but we have also seen Meridian do wonderful things when it comes for kids. So that's all that we're asking today is just for support. As we work to establish an online presence, we would appreciate that you like and share us. And I have no doubt with the team that we have assembled that we will be successful. So big things are happening. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor.
Ms. Milam.
Wonderful presentation. This is so exciting, JC. So thank you for being part of this and working on it. I love your slideshow. It just gives me goosebumps. I'm really excited. My question is for your first fundraiser is you need to raise $750 for the 501c3 status. Is that?
So yes, that's the first initial goal. We have an offer from Patricia Kempthorne, who has what's called the Twiga Foundation, and it's a 501c3 that she's already maintained. And we are in talks. She's offered to let us go under her umbrella. We will have to work with Joe Kozlowski was offering his services to our group, so we need to kind of work through how that would work, and if we are not able to go that direction, that first benchmark is the $750 for the nonprofit status. The initial nonprofit status you can file for $400, but only if you guarantee that you'll not generate more than $40,000 of income in the first 5 years, and obviously we plan to exceed that, so we're going for the larger benchmark.
Okay. It doesn't seem like it should be very hard for you to do that,
so.
and I'd like to know as soon as you're ready because I will make a donation.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you, that's very kind.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just great.
This is exciting to see how far you've come in a real short amount of time, and can tell you that the members on that group are enthusiastic. They are huge youth supporters, and we love to see the collaboration and the connections that are going on around this. So thank you, JC, for coming
Thank
and
you.
presenting.
Thank you all for your time. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me or Dan. Ashley, we are all around. So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You too.
Item 8A, in front of you is Resolution 16-1180. This is a resolution appointing Trey Burnt to seat 5. And Trey would have been here, but he and his wife are out celebrating an anniversary out of the country.
He's in
And,
Mexico having a good time.
I think that
Oh.
I offered to go with him, and he could have stayed here, and he didn't think that was a good swap. So, Council, I would ask for your confirmation of this appointment.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I move that we approve resolution number 16-1180, a resolution appointing Trent Burnt to seat 5 of the Meridian Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve item 8A. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Well, as we were working to fill this opening, both planning staff and our legal team brought up the suggestion to consider expanding the Planning and Zoning Commission from 5 seats to 7 seats. This is one of those commissions that takes a great deal of volunteer time, and we feel that this is a great time in that we had excellent applicants, and we'd like to have you consider expanding this commission from 5 to 7 seats. It will certainly help in the workload in representing the community. Again, the amount of work that this group does is taxing in the time commitment as well. And so I wanted to get your thoughts, and if there's support, we would bring back an amendment to the ordinance. Mr. Neary?
Actually, Madam Mayor, members of council, when we changed all the commission ordinances a couple years ago, we made all of them up to 9 members. So this won't require any change of any type to do that if you wish to desire to appoint additional members. The state code only requires there be a minimum of 3 and actually allows a maximum of 12, but we made all of our commissions equal at maximum of 9. So, and this is the smallest commission at 5.
Mr. Byrd.
I would be in favor of adding 2 seats to the Meridian Planning and Zoning Commission. Those guys volunteer a lot of time to take care of the planning and zoning business that they are the buffer for us. So if we've got good applicants and stuff, I would certainly have no problem seeing it going to 7.
I certainly brought that up in the interviews, that they are the front line and first line of attack. So they take a lot of the technical questions. They vet, and it's a great group, and I think they would also like to see the additional seats as well.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Kavner.
I know when they expanded the city council from 4 to 6, one of the thoughts were to spread the wealth a little bit more amongst more council members. What your comment about the extra workload, I don't think any of us, maybe minus Councilman Byrd, if I may be correct, have served on the Planning and Zoning Commission. So it might be helpful to get I know what extra work goes in outside. I knew you, Madam Mayor. Outside of council meetings, I know that the council members have a lot of other duties that they fulfill, but it might be beneficial to hear some of that, what that extra workload is for planning and zoning members that we would be helping to assist with.
I think it's just always good to have different perspectives on and people that live in different parts of the community that can bring that expertise. And so we do try and find a greater balance. I will say the balance right now leans to the south side of Meridian, and short of asking some of the members to step off because of where they live, which I don't think is appropriate, you can find a better balance and perspective to bring to the discussion. It's more of a balance of perspective, experience, angles to look at, and relevance as to where these citizens live, and also to time commitment. There are occasions that a member cannot always make every meeting, and when you have a small commitment like that, you have a hard time finding a quorum. So we don't want to delay our public hearings because we lack a quorum, and fortunately that hasn't happened often, but I think that it does help balance it in that way too. And even though our ordinance allows up to 9, I would like the nod from council before I would entertain expanding a commission. I will bring names to you then next week, that the chair, as in every opening for commissions, we do have a process of application and interviews, and both myself and the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission met and interviewed the candidates, and I do have 2 additional candidates to fill those slots that would bring good experience of breadth to the group.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Palmer.
Thought of a question for you. When council expanded to 6, did the meetings get longer?
No.
Yes,
big nod over
because Councilman Kavanagh speaks a lot.
Madam Mayor, since my name was used, I find the need to respond.
I would say that before I recognize Mr. Kavanagh, I don't think necessarily they have. It got longer, I think, when we added members that had not been involved on other commissions, in particular planning and zoning. Planning and zoning is a great training ground because council balances land use and policy, and having that background and experience in land use helps narrow that learning curve that's pretty broad. So that one is a hard question to in absolutes answer.
I guess maybe easier, if I may. Would my only worry then is if we, which I definitely understand, having people from more areas of the city to bring in, more opinions of things that if something's going into their area, in North Meridian, for example, it's a whole lot different situation than in South Meridian. May be able to recognize challenges better. My only worry is that if we're talking about making the workload easier, is with all those extra opinions comes longer meetings. If that would be a strain on those that are coming, if the meetings end up consistently being longer, just because there's more people to give input.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Kavanagh first, and then
go ahead,
Mr.
I'm
Byrd.
Great, thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'll let the comment slide. However, I was absent last week and had the pleasure of watching online, and that meeting, despite myself and the mayor being here, probably the top 2 talkers in the meetings, your meeting happened to go fairly long,
He's
nevertheless. a comment, though, I think maybe to Councilman Palmer's point, and maybe to address the concern, Mayor, that you brought up, which is if one of the areas of concern is that an area of our community is being overrepresented, then perhaps, and maybe this is a question for Mr. Neri, is if there's some safeguards that could be put in place based on area so that we don't have this situation 2 years from now or 20 years from now where we have 7 members or 9 members or 12 members, but they all happen to live in a certain geographic area. Thinking
Just like this council did not support that strategy or objective in the strategic plan, it's hard to promote that in having that on our commissions. I think always we do look for that balance, and then someone moves, kind of like Mr. Palmer when he moved to South Meridian. I think that we do strive to have that equal representation. It's harder with a smaller commission to do that. I think with the expanded seats, it will allow a greater opportunity for them.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Burton.
I think that the basic big reason to expand it is so they can get their quorums. And no, none of you guys, excluding Tammy and I, know what it's like to have a 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning meeting. And that a lot of that was because we only met 2 times a month, or we only met 3 times a month. So, and we were hit. I think that it helps them. They are a volunteer deal. They get no pay. And all of them have jobs. I think sometimes they have a hard time getting a quorum. And it's hard to tell developers and stuff, not, you know, we can't have a meeting, a planning and zoning meeting this week because we don't have a quorum. So I think that helps, and you know, expand it to 7, I think will be great. And I don't worry about the area because we're all for the community, whether you're north, south, east, or west.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Borton.
It may make sense, it may not. It would be important for me to hear from the commission. If our role is to give them whatever's necessary to be most successful in their role, it would be helpful to have someone from the commission come and make the request and say, here's the specific challenges we're having to fulfill our duties. Here's what we would like to propose as a solution. And if it's expanding to 7 and it solves what they're telling us are the problems, that makes great sense. What we're saying up here very well might be true. But to Councilman Palmer's point, adding 2 people to a meeting, all things being equal, can just create more input and more talking and not necessarily a better product. So it would be helpful to have someone from P&Z make the request and articulate the problems that adding 2 members would solve. And I would be wholly supportive of that too, if that's what they need to do a better job.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Palmer.
I second everything Councilman Borton said, and then I guess I really had the realization that we can just as easily reduce it back down through attrition if it doesn't work out great. Because if it doesn't, we might be losing a couple anyway. So, yeah.
Okay. I can talk to Mr. Yearsley, and I kind of shared our conversation, but if you'd like him to come down and speak for himself, that's fine too.
Madam Mayor?
We'll add more time to his plate.
No, no. Madam Mayor, that's totally different. If what you've said is the message told to you from P&Z that says, Madam Mayor, on behalf of P&Z, would you ask council to expand our membership because we're telling you here's challenges that this would help solve, that's different. And we can proceed today. I didn't capture what you said as being the message you were told to pass to us from P&Z. Without that, I wouldn't want to put 2 people on a board and have a board say, Why'd you give us 2 more?
Well, I can put this on the next council agenda, and I will ask Mr. Yearsley to at least provide a statement. So,
Madam Mayor, for me, I'm fine either way. If I'm comfortable, if you represent that he told you that, it's not a problem. But if it's better to have him speak, I don't want to belabor it or make it more difficult. I just want the message to come from P&Z.
that's fine. It will come along with the 2 recommendations if that's the direction we go. So that will be on the next agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Mr.
I know that we
Cabinet.
want to move past this, but to that last point, I guess my preference is, and I don't know what the rest of the council's feelings are, to have that discussion with Chairman Yearsley before we have the names in front of us.
So I guess I heard from Councilman Borton that as long as it's represented that this is coming from the commission, that was fine. You want him to come here in person.
I think that, Madam Mayor, that would be my preference. I would prefer to have anybody here in front of us as opposed to a written statement. I don't know if I'm alone in that. And Councilman Borton articulated his perspective. I'm just sharing mine. And that is that if we're going to discuss this further and have a presentation or a comment from the chairman, to at least have that before we consider the 2 additional names.
Well,
And I may be alone.
what I'll do is bring a statement from Mr. Yearsley. Also invite him to be here. If he can't, I'm not going to say we're not going to consider it unless you can be here in person. But I'll bring the statement. If you have additional questions, we can delay that again. But we'll see how that goes. Ms. Milam.
Based on the fact that we don't really need our approval for this anyway, the way that I feel is if the commission is in favor of it, then I'm in favor of it. If this helps them meet their quorums and it helps make their lives easier, and I guess it's probably pretty much the same thing as what Councilman Borton is saying. You know, is this going to make their lives better? Do they want it or do they not want it? And if you've already discussed with them that they want it, then I don't see why we don't just move forward, unless that conversation hasn't really taken place.
It has, and we will put it on a future agenda.
Okay.
So.
That's how
And
we
I
make- this is how we make
understand
meetings
that. So
longer.
if I bring 2 more names forward and a statement, I think it is important that it at least confirms that it's agreed by the commission that this is seen as a positive.
Thank you.
So. Okay, item 9A has been requested to continue to December 6th. It's the final plat for Golden Grove subdivision.
Madam Mayor,
I guess we'll first, for the record, put the reason it's been asked to delay.
Madam Mayor, Council, the applicant is working on a few items that staff requested information on. Therefore, they requested continuance in order to allow a little more time to get that information to me.
Thank you. Mr. Byrd.
I move we continue the final plat on H 2016-0124 till December 6, 2016.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, to continue item 9A to December 6th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Item 9B is a public hearing for H 2016-0123. I will open the public hearing with staff comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Councilman. The first application is a request for a vacation. The property that's the subject of this application is Lot 3, Block 1, Siam subdivision, zoned IL, located on the north side of East Franklin Road, midway between North Eagle Road and North Cloverdale Roads. A little history on this project. When the preliminary plat for this subdivision was approved, Lanark Street, which is the east-west street right here, was only proposed to extend to the west side of the subject property because the applicant did not wish to extend services and the public street to the adjacent property to the east. To ensure the property owners to the east had access to city services as well as access to the stoplight at the intersection of Touchmark and Franklin via Lanark Street, this lot was restricted as a non-buildable lot until such time as a new preliminary and final plat is approved, which depicts the extension of Lanark Street and city water and sewer services to the east boundary of this site. No certificates of zoning compliance or building permits were allowed to be issued for this lot until that time. The applicant is requesting approval to vacate plat note number 10, which states Lot 3, Block 1 is a non-buildable lot, and the associated graphic depiction within said lot on the Siam subdivision final plat. Since the final plat for Siam subdivision was recorded, the subject developer has purchased the 3 5-acre properties to the east, you see here, that are in the county, and intends to submit a preliminary plat and annexation application for those properties, which will include the subject property in the preliminary plat. In the interim, the developer would like to obtain a building permit for a 45,000 square foot warehouse building for a national tenant on the north end of Lot 3, Block 1. Approval of the subject request will allow the developer to get started on construction. Written testimony has been received from Brad Miller, the applicant's representative, in agreement with the staff report. Because the developer now owns the adjacent parcels to the east and access and city services are not being withheld from another property owner, staff recommends approval to City Council of the vacation request. Staff will stand for any questions council may have.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Comments from the applicant? Good evening. If you'll state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. Brad Miller with Van Acker Properties, 3084 East Lanark in Meridian. Thank you for hearing this request. I have a problem and I need your help. I don't want Sonia to say that I have more than one problem, but what we have is we have a national tenant who has approached us and wants to build a very tall building to store goods in there, and we want to put it up against the railroad track, so it's and we've agreed to do that provided we can get approval from the city council. The issue that we have is they want to take delivery of the building August 1. So in order for us to do that, we've got to get going right away. So as Sonia stated, we have acquired the next 15 acres, and the intent is, we've talked with ACHD, and the intent is for next week to submit for annexation and zoning and the preliminary plat. I've already got everything from JUB engineers. I just need to fill out the application. And ACHD is okay with us not extending the road right now with this building, but in the future extending the road. So that's our intent, and I appreciate your consideration of this. We'd sure like to bring another tenant to Meridian. We currently house this tenant in a temporary building in Boise, and so we want to pull him out of Boise and bring him to Meridian. So I'll stand for any questions if there are any.
You know the buzzwords. Mr. Palmer.
Madam Mayor, I'm just curious, how tall is very tall? Knowing I love tall. So that's why I'm just curious.
Well, Madam Mayor, Councilperson Palmer, it'll be about 30 to 32 feet is what it is. And I'll tell you, I don't think there's any competitors in the room. It's Pods is who it is, who do the storage containers. They want to be able to stack 3 high within the building. So that's what the tenant is, and they'll take a good portion of that 45,000 square foot building. So I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Any further testimony?
Seeing none, Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I move we close the public hearing on H 2016-0123.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on item 9B. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I move we approve H 2016-0123 and to include all staff and applicant comment.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve item 9B. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. 9C is a public hearing for H 2016-0121. We'll open this public hearing with staff comments.
Evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. This is an application for Night Hill Center Subdivision Number 2. It's for a short plat. The site consists of approximately 3.04 acres of land, which is currently zoned CG. It's located at 6241 North Linder Road. There's quite a bit of history on this project over the last few years with various application types. The most recent being a certificate of zoning compliance and design review approval for a Black Rock Coffee that and a multi-tenant building that are both either in operation or will be shortly. The subject application in front of you is a proposed short plat. It depicts 2 commercial lots on 3.04 acres of land in the CG zoning district. The proposed plat is a re-subdivision of Lot 2, Block 1 of the Night Hill Center subdivision. Access to the site is provided to West Chinden Boulevard and to North Linder Road through a cross-access easement on access roads. Staff has reviewed the proposed short plat for substantial compliance with the criteria set forth in the UDC and deems the final plat to be in substantial compliance with those standards. With that, staff is recommending approval, and I'll stand for any questions you have.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Would the applicant like to make comment? Good evening. If you'll please state your name and address for the record.
It's Will Mason, Mason and Stanfield. I'm here on behalf of Rennie Wiley. The address is 826 3rd Street South, Nampa, Idaho, 83651. Really, the only thing I have to add to staff's report is that the utilities are in. The reason we're asking for this re-subdivision is there's a tenant that would like to purchase a portion but not all of the existing lot. And with that, I would stand for any questions you might have.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to offer testimony? Yes, please. Good evening. If you'll please state your name and address for the record.
Lindsay and Weston McCausland, 6183 North Gertie Place, which is right behind our house.
Lindsay, can you pull that microphone down?
Yes.
Thank you.
This would be right behind the home that we just purchased. Okay. 6183 North Gertie Place. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with Loksha Falls, the back part, which you approved the Rock Harbor or Black Rocks. And this right now is a traffic nightmare for us. We live right on the corner. There's no stop signs either way coming in or out of that place. And we would like to know what also they want to build behind our home. That would be going behind there when they split the properties, because it's literally right behind our fence from Loksha Falls. So we totally object to, I don't know what we say. We've never been to a meeting before, but this is right behind our homes.
Okay.
That we were told would never be open, but is now open, so.
I'm sorry, you were told what?
The subdivision was never going to open, but it was opened. I guess that land wasn't supposed to be used behind our home. So
Your realtor told you that a piece of property behind your home would never be used?
No, we heard from neighbors that it wasn't going to be used. We haven't heard from a realtor now.
Oh. Well, that has been annexed and zoned commercial.
We just moved here, so
okay.
Sorry. We're not familiar
with
anything at all. So, but that lot is right behind our home, so that's why we're here today.
I certainly can understand that. So. My reason for getting involved in the city 20 years ago had the same questions.
Yeah,
but that has been approved a number of years ago for commercial use.
Okay.
And so this is a compatible use. for that property. And we can ask the applicant if they have any details, and certainly to maybe chat with you after the meeting or after this hearing to share more information. And maybe you can even get his phone number. So
Okay. All right.
it will be good to have a point of contact that you can ask further questions of.
And how do you get stop signs and things? Because how people come in off of Linder into the Loksha Falls, I don't even know what the street, but our street is Gertie, which you come off of.
So when you come in and the homestead is right there, you come in and there's, from the Black Rock going in, it's a T intersection. There's no traffic stop sign or anything, so when you're coming in, the cars are going past here and the cars are going, nobody nobody knows the right of way. Everybody's just going, and we've seen almost a whole bunch of accidents and things like there. That's one of the concerns. The other concern is in that field there's a ton of weeds and overgrown vegetation, plus there's cement. I was going to go out there and try to get rid of it, some of it, but then there's from Builders Pass or whatever, there's a whole bunch of cement that's just gobbed up and stuck in the dirt. So it looks like people had just leftover cement, dumped it in there. So that's right behind our fence line. So those are just the basic two, stop sign, and then how do we get some of that stuff cleared out of there?
All great questions, and we can have staff also talk with you afterwards. I see our lieutenant hopefully taking copious notes for our code enforcement to help you on the weeds and the illegal dumping, the nuisance part. So we can help you on that too. But we'll get with you also after the hearing on that. Thank you for coming. And welcome to Meridian. Anything further? Maybe the applicant can come up and respond. I'm sure before code enforcement has to contact your the owner, you'll take a message back saying clean up your weeds and clean up your concrete. And
I certainly will.
Thank you.
Will Mason, for the record. The project that they're proposing right now is a small retail type facility. They don't need the additional parking because they're low volume retail type facility. It's similar to Family Dollar or something where they don't expect to have large delivery trucks, stuff like that. They do have on this plat a 25-foot setback for landscaping so that they will be buffering those neighbors with landscaping with any traffic that they might have in their facility. So.
Okay. Council, any questions?
Mayor.
Mr. Byrd.
What do you have any idea what kind of height they're going to have on the building there?
I do not. I do know it has to go through a design review. Yes, it'll be just a single story, I think.
So that will go through to make sure it meets with city design standards, and the landscape buffer will also be vetted by staff.
Correct.
Any other questions from council? Okay, and I would ask you if you could please meet with your neighbors after this hearing. Thank you. Okay, anything further? Council, any questions for staff or the applicant or those, the neighbors that testified?
No. Madam Mayor.
Ms. Milam.
Not a question, but as far as the stop sign, I don't know if you would address that or not.
No.
No, but we do not have anything to do with stop signs. No. But Ada County Highway District does all of our roadways and signage like that. So they would be the ones to contact.
You can follow up with them.
Ms. Milam, if I could real quick, just mention that it is a public street up until that property line.
Oh.
And then it's a private access.
Private road.
So anything within the subdivision is a private drive aisle. It's not regulated by the highway district. So folks are using that for access to the subdivision as a public road when it's actually not a public road. Does that make sense? So that public road connects with that sub, but it's not actually a public road.
So that should fall with the
So there's a lot of traffic going through private property to get to the subdivision.
Perhaps, Josh, you can also talk to the couple and let them know maybe appropriate contact, and perhaps we can get a better understanding of what some of the challenges are to see if we need to take it to our Transportation Commission as well.
Will do.
Okay, thank you.
I was over there today. It doesn't.
Okay, anything further from council?
I have nothing.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Ms.
I
Mylum.
move that we close the public hearing on H2016-0121.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on item 9C. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried.
Madam Mayor?
Ms. Mylum.
I move that we approve H2016-0121 and include all staff, applicant, and public testimony.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 9C with what I hope is also a strong message to the applicant to clean up your property. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Thank you for joining us tonight. And
Like your jacket.
I think you can probably meet with a couple of our staff members and the applicant outside the council chambers. Thank you for joining us. Item 10A is ordinance 16-1714. Mr. Clerk, will you please read this by title?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City of Meridian Ordinance Number 16-1714, an ordinance, file number H2015-0005, Edge Hill Subdivision, of the City of Meridian granting annexation and zoning for a parcel of land located in the northwest quarter of Section 25, Township 3 North, Range 1 West, Boise, Ada County, Idaho. This parcel contains 40.19 acres more or less and is situated in Ada County, Idaho, and adjacent and contiguous to the corporate limits of the City of Meridian. Establishing and determining the land use zoning classification of said lands from RUT to R4, Low Density Residential District, in the Meridian City Code. Providing that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law, and providing for a summary of this ordinance, and providing for a waiver of the reading rules, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Council, I don't see anyone asking to hear it read in its entirety.
Madam Mayor?
Ms. Mylum.
I move that we approve ordinance number 16-1714, the suspension of rules.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 10A. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Aye. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 10B is ordinance 16-1715. Mr. Clerk, will you please read this by title?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City of Meridian Ordinance Number 16-1715, an ordinance, file number 2016-0088, Knightsbridge Subdivision, of the City of Meridian granting annexation and zoning for a parcel of land located in the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 21, Township 3 North, Range 1 East, Boise, Ada County, Idaho. This parcel contains 5.15 acres more or less and is situated in Ada County, Idaho, and adjacent and contiguous to the corporate limits of the City of Meridian. Establishing and determining the land use zoning classification of said lands from RUT to R4, Low Density Residential District, in the Meridian City Code. Providing that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law, and providing for a summary of the ordinance, and providing for a waiver of the reading rules, and providing for an effective date.
Council?
Madam Mayor?
And Ms. Mylum.
I move that we approve ordinance number 16-1715 with suspension of rules.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 10B. There's no discussion. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Aye. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Council, under item 11, future meeting topics, are there any items for future agendas?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Little Roberts.
I would like to request an update from ITD regarding the closed turn lane into the village. I've been hearing in my other position with the chamber from several businesses, including one this week that has documented a 20% reduction in his business, and he's in danger of being able to even stay open.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Palmer.
without being specific, I can tell you there is a big effort to remedy the situation.
Well, good. We hope to hear that in the update. So yes, certainly we'll ask Bruce to extend an offer for a future agenda to, and certainly during this time of year, and I think we brought that up at the time, not the best time of year to be doing this, but we will certainly ask them for an update.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council upcoming events includes, we're closing tomorrow at 3 p.m. and we will not be open on Friday. So City Hall is closed after 3 p.m. until Monday at 8 a.m. And for the Thanksgiving holiday, AIC, the Association of Idaho Cities Legislative Committee, meets December 1st at the Boise Center. Discussion starts at 9 a.m. Christmas in Meridian is next weekend, a week from this weekend, December 2nd through the 3rd. Winter Lights Parade tree lighting is at 6:30, and thanks to Lakey for the big sponsorship. We appreciate you spreading the Christmas spirit every single year. And then the Winterland Festival starts at 10 a.m. It's being moved this year to the Boys and Girls Club. It's become so popular, we need additional space, and it's a perfect venue for that. West Ada School District Holiday Open House. The district offices are from 3 to 7 on Tuesday, December 6th. And lastly, well, not lastly, we have one of our neighborhood stars, or the Meridian Stars Awards, to the youth. Dominic is raising funds for his annual effort in bringing toys to all kids in need. And his goal this year is over $1,800. So looking for community support and certainly support from our city leaders. So I have a copy of his letter. If you have an interest, please let me know, and I'll get you the information where you can help him. And lastly, congratulations to Joe Borton, who was listed as one of the 2016 Leaders in Law. And so...
Recount.
So well done. So with that, I will move to item 12, executive session.
Madam Mayor.
I'm sorry, Mr. Borton.
Real quick, sorry to interrupt, but I also wanted to point out, just Todd Lavoie did a fantastic job once again with the Movember. We have a lot of fun raising funds, growing mustaches and being a little silly. We have a dignitary in the room tonight, which we will introduce shortly.
Oh, yes. Colin Moss took
yeah.
the big throne from Mr. Borton.
We don't want to talk about that. Sure we do. It's a lot of fun. It's lots of laughs. Wives might disagree. But hats off to Todd. He does a great job in trying to get all of us to do that. And it's, one, it raises money, but by growing goofy-looking mustaches and having people ask you why you're doing it and what you're doing and looking silly raises so much awareness. I mean, it's a fundraiser, but also that raising awareness is really important. I know it's super important to Todd and everyone that participated. So next year, there's going to be a bigger effort to get more people in the city involved and make them look funky and ugly and have people ask you questions what you're doing. Because you want those questions, you want to be able to tell them why you're raising money and what you're doing it for. So, and if you didn't see Councilman Kavanaugh's effort, that thing was phenomenal. I mean, that was fantastic.
I was disqualified because you have to have separation between the beard and the mustache. But
yeah, and we've got a.
There's an asterisk, Colin, an asterisk next to your victory. I want you to be aware.
It was awesome.
Oh,
So thank you for doing it. I think it's fun. Really a good time.
Yeah, so $400 was raised, and certainly, more importantly, to raise the profile and discussion of prostate cancer is huge.
Absolutely.
I think we all know people who have been touched by that, and it needs to be something that men do on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Thank you for bringing that up. I have a real scary picture of Todd Lavoie in the stairwell sporting his whatever that was. So,
great.
Item 12 is executive session. Mr. Clerk, will you please? Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I need first a motion. Mr. Byrd.
I move we go into executive session as per Idaho State Code 74206(1)(c).
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn into executive session. Now, Mr. Clerk, will you please call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Milo.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
It's a record. As soon as you walked in, I thought we were cursed.
Can't do that. Yeah, those were some